order the Monday, January 20th Board of Aldermen regular meeting. Roll call, please.
Alderman Bossini. Alderman Hudson.
Present.
Alderman Deckard.
Here.
Alderman Magley.
Yeah.
All right, if everyone will stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That moves us to item 4, comments from citizens. We do have a citizen,
He has a comment.
and she braved the elements, so well deserved.
Linda Foreman, 800 Jason Court. In the minutes from the December whatever meeting, it has in there that I said that our guys should be cutting down trees, and that's not what I said. I said the guys should be doing the stumps whenever they had time. I just wanted to correct it.
Yep.
The other thing is the overtime in the offices up here. Are they taking overtime? Are they being paid for it, or are they taking time off?
What do you mean?
For what?
It says that there's a total of 27.25 hours in cashier's overtime. And I was just curious as to whether or not they're being paid or they're taking time off for it.
They get paid for their overtime.
Because that's a lot of money at time and a half for whoever's doing it. Like
We very rarely have overtime in the front office. A lot of times they, when they can, they flex time where if they come in for a meeting, because we have a half-hour city hall meeting every other Tuesday, because we can't meet during the day because we have to be available for our residents. So we do try to flex that off some weeks, especially when there's bad weather or other things going on. It's not possible to flex that off, so we do have to pay out the overtime.
27 hours is full year.
I realize that.
It's 27 hours for that group for an entire year.
I realize that. But 27 hours at time and a half at what these girls make is a lot of money.
But
It's my tax dollars.
I understand. But we're talking for that group of individuals, a half an hour a week of overtime is well within the realm of reasonable for any group.
Well, that may be, but it's you're using tax dollars for that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And at 27 hours, that time and a half, it comes to a lot. I mean, when I worked for the county years ago, we had to take time off for it. I mean, we just, we never got paid overtime. And that was because it was tax entity also.
I'll say that when I became mayor, when I looked through the budget and observed everything, we had a lot of overtime.
Oh, it used to be a lot.
It was
It used to be hundreds
of hours. It was like 500 hours for the administrative side of the business. And then in the other departments, we had overtime. The police department had a lot of overtime with the dog and the handling of the dog. And so, I mean, we had, I think one year we had, the first year I was here, the year that I was inheriting as I became mayor, we had almost, I want to say it was over 1,000 hours of overtime in between all departments, and some very reasonable, some not to me. So, yeah. So I get what you're saying. I think that we keep a close eye on that. I think that overall, I think that in what I've seen, we've taken care of that and got that down to where.
I mean, it is reasonable.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I think we're conscious of it.
There's no reason why we can't use time off for it instead of paying them.
That report, I haven't seen it, but I assume that would include the 2 hour call out for minutes. That's going to be the bulk of it, and that's directed by the union, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So she attends the meeting, she gets 2 hours of all that time.
Thank you for your comment, and we appreciate it. I don't see any other citizens at this point. I don't think we'll have any other closed comment from citizens. That will move us to consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to have a motion for consent agenda of A, Board of Aldermen meeting minutes, B, Public Works and Utility Committee meeting minutes, General Government and Public Safety Committee meeting minutes, and Collector's Report, D and E, Activity Report.
Which one is it that needs to be amended?
The general government.
The General
yeah.
Government
Yeah.
Committee meeting minutes, yeah, from the trees to just the stumps. Because that's what you did, you mentioned that during the winter, we could be doing that with our time, to be productive. So the trees with everything but the trees, in Linda's, statement.
Move that we accept the consent agenda as amended, amending the General Government Public Safety Committee meeting minutes. Comment from the board, the city personnel, remove this comment.
First and second. We got the second, yeah, got a first and second to approve the consent agenda, with the amendment to the, General Government and Public Safety Committee meeting minutes of Linda's statement, that just, the stumps, not the trees. All in favor? All opposed? Passes. That moves us to accounts payable over $1,250. Look those over, I would entertain a motion for,
The weed killer. Were we killing weeds in January?
So they buy it in the off season.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the Carlos house?
The Carlton House, the
catered
they catered and
employee dinner
dinner and
for the holiday.
Would move that we approve bills payable over $1,250 in the amount of $559,724.23.
Second. I have first and second to approve the accounts payable of $1,250 for a total of $559,724.23. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. That moves us to the action agenda, which I don't have anything on here. Old business. Old business. Any new business? Hearing none, I will move to 7. I have appointments. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Aaron Kreger and Corbin Town to the Centennial Fire Department.
So moved.
Second.
I have first and second for the mayor to appoint Aaron Kreger and Corbin Town to the Centennial Fire Department. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. That moves us to the city administrator.
It's really been working on, we had the holidays in there obviously, and been working with the state on our fire department grant that we were awarded, the $20,000. It was extended, but I was working with them because we missed one word in the scope. It said SCBA mass, and it was supposed to say SCBA's and mass. So I had to work with them to amend the scope, and they, at the last minute, opted to extend all the agreements that were still outstanding. So we do have $40,000 in SCBA's to outfit the new fire truck on order, and we'll be reimbursed for those once we get those paid for. Yes. I have not heard anything on, we did submit the firehouse grant for the new fire truck. That has been submitted. It was completed and submitted. I believe it's June when we might hear back from that on if we're gonna be a winner in this first round. If not, we do have an agreement with fire grants that they will resubmit in the consecutive years, I believe for $1,000. The fire truck was worked on last Thursday to fix the ladder. It was successful. So they did take the ladder truck to Jeff City on Friday to get it repainted.
Speaking of grant, let's remember to get a hold of the Regional Planning Committee, Commission, and talk to them about, there's a lady that helps with the comprehensive plans for the cities.
Okay.
And we want to get slotted in with her because they've got one or two going, and as we all know, they're pretty timely, but they're a really great resource for us to help us get through that process because it's pretty timely and pretty consuming. So let's remember to do that one as well.
Okay.
And I'm checking into some grants as well on generators for the fire department to have some new generation. Mobile generation.
I'm also considering writing, a grant, or it's not to an application process yet, but there's a brick grant. It's for grid resiliency, and our reconductoring project fits in it very well. So, it's gonna cost the city quite a bit of money to reconductor the area behind, oh goodness, over there by Casey's, that alley right there that we talked about we started saving for it this budget year. And we were gonna bring in MPUA to help us. Well, what this grant will do is help us pay for the material and, to bring in, MPUA employees to help us with it, but it'll also help pay for the training of our employees so that the next time we need to do a reconductoring project, our employees will know
We trained on it.
how to do it because we trained on it. So, um, grants have been quite the chore over the last couple of years, but I think this would be a good one to try for. I think I'm gonna go ahead and write up a project scope for it, and if we're selected, then we get to move on to the application round. Other than that, this past month has been a lot of working on budget and weather related stuff.
Any questions for our city administrator? That's what to do. We'll move us to 9, our city attorney.
There's been quite a bit that's gone on since the last time we met. I worked with Tara on finalizing the county's ARPA contracts. So we had 3 projects that were going to be subject to county ARPA funding to support those projects. And 2 of those contracts were able to be finalized using the Boone County required language for ARPA funds. So these are flow through dollars. The contracts we extend to the contractors have to mirror what Boone County uses because they're ultimately the recipient and we're just a sub-recipient, so we have to follow their language and their procurement rules. One of the contractors, however, it was the pool lining project?
No, it was for the pickleball courts.
For the pickleball
pavement.
Yeah, the pickleball court pavement refused to use that Boone County required, like just flat refused to use it. So at that point, there's not a whole lot we can do. I was kind of perplexed because it was in the bid documentation that you're going to have to follow ARPA requirement flow through language and everything else. This bidder was very aware of that and chose not to go with our contract. So Tara and I talked with CJ Dykehouse, who is the county counselor, to try to come up with an alternative because now the pickleball court pavement is not something that is on the table to be used. And because all of the funds had to be basically accounted for and locked in by December 31st of this past year, so 2024, 2024, so they can be expended. It's kind of an odd position because the scope was for pickleball court repavement. The secondary bidder apparently was no longer a viable bidder either. So Parks and Rec came to Tara, and I think they're looking at an alternative way to try to use the funds that could be allocated for Parks and Rec, but in a different manner. So you'll still get the 20,000, I believe is the amount.
It was right about 29,000.
Close to 30, I think.
Yeah.
It was pretty close to 28, something.
Yeah, but it will not be for pickleball court refinishing. So I don't know if the board was aware of that, but wanted to make sure that you are now aware of that is no longer a project that is moving forward.
The parks will be able to potentially still get that money that would go into their budget to help them with something else that would offset that cost.
Correct. So they're working on it, so they're gathering it. So then, of course, we had the P&Z ordinance to remove the 2 older persons. That was drafted, sent to Tara. I don't know if that's gone to P&Z for public hearing comment yet to come back to the board, but all of that was sent to Tara. So you guys can start looking and examining that for that change for the P&Z committee. The Brightspeed pole contract. So Brightspeed, we have discovered, owns more poles in town than we realized. Originally, Tara and I and even Matthew thought that all the poles in your town were essentially owned by your electric utility. It makes sense, right? You are your own municipal electric utility. generally you own all the poles. Well, it turns out that's not the case. There's about 254 poles in town that are actually owned by Brightspeed or were owned by its predecessor before Brightspeed acquired it. So we are doing a pole agreement so that if, a pole collapses and there has to be an immediate replacement or removal and movement of their equipment along with our electrical equipment, how that works out. I'm not for sure what's taking them so long to respond. This has taken far longer than it should have. I mean, this has been going on for 4 months where Tara, myself, and Matthew have been working on this. I've offered basically, here's the language we all agree on, here's alternative language, and I'm waiting for their attorney and their contract department to send it back for you all to review and sign. So I will ping them tomorrow because it's been at least 3 weeks since I thought we were finalized and I was just waiting on a contract to come back through. Adult daycare. So Marilyn brought to my attention that there was a business in town who was considering creating an adult daycare in your B1 zoning district, so downtown, your business district. When I have looked through your zoning code, just so you're aware, this is something that may need to go back to planning and zoning as well. You do not have the provision in your code to flex to cover an adult daycare. You do for child daycare and daycare up to the age of approximately 18, like adolescent daycare, but not adult daycare. So that is something I want to just throw out to the board for you to kind of chew on to see if that is something that you would like to consider as the comprehensive plan rolls forward with planning and zoning, the idea of the allowance of adult daycare facilities. Last thing, and one of the bigger things that's going on within the legislature, the only thing that's really hot on the topic is low impact home-based businesses. So right about COVID time, the legislature in Missouri passed basically the allowance of low impact home-based businesses. They can operate within your city without having a business license. There's really no restriction on the home-based business other than it's low impact, which was not very well defined. The legislature has been hearing a lot of complaints from cities that it's creating a lot of problems and there's a lot of vagary in it. So they are going to take a second crack at trying to amend that. So if anybody has any experience that they would like to share through Tara that I can share to MML that, hey, we've had this situation in town arise where we had a problematic home-based business. We don't really feel as low impact, but we felt like we really couldn't do much because, the statute was vague. Just let me know. So anyway, lots of other stuff going on, but I think that's it. I think it's enough for now.
Just, in talking with the, Parks Department staff over there, they have some part-time, they have agreements and contracts and some things that they do for employment, and they wanted to know if they could send some over to you to look at. I said, were you available to them? I said, yes, you work for the whole city,
Yep.
the parks as well, so I kind of informed them and educated them on that part of it. So you'll probably maybe seeing a couple of three of the general contracts they have now that probably need to be looked over and worked after a little bit, probably. Just, not a lot of stuff, I don't think, but pretty generic, straightforward stuff, but pretty primitive, I think, and probably what I saw.
When the legislature starts moving on the revision clarification to the low impact home-based business, would you mind sharing with us the bill number so we can have a look?
To be candid with you, they don't have one filed yet. Like this is one I think that kind of has emerged. So I think I suspect highly given how late it's starting to come out that it's not even going to probably get through the legislature to be adopted, but they're going to at least chew the fat and maybe next session. James or
It's appropriate, would you mind telling me giving me a couple examples of what a low impact home-based business is?
well, sure, and James, that's a great question because low impact in one community, let's say for instance, you've got an art gallery. I'm going to take that as an example, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got an art gallery in somebody's home and maybe in an extended building in their backyard. In Centralia, where that art gallery may be located, may not impose on traffic, put a lot of pressure on the water or the sewer, doesn't cause a lot of noise to the surrounding neighborhoods, things like that. But you take that same art gallery and, for example, maybe put it in the middle of Kansas City, just hypothetically, it may change whether or not that business is truly low impact because maybe in that setting, it creates a lot of traffic congestion for people going up and down the streets, parking problems, maybe there's a lot of noise, trash, or some other stress in that Kansas City setting that wouldn't exist in Centralia. So it literally is fact-based and it's different each time. So what may be low impact for Centralia may not be low impact somewhere else. Does that make sense?
I think it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for our city attorney?
Do you get the email from MML? So,
I don't know.
I'll forward those to you. I think
They're
everybody-
very helpful.
Yeah, they're very good.
I would, yeah, definitely read through them. They're good.
Yeah, they give us,
Be more informative.
Hmm.
It's such a
Yeah.
yeah.
deeper.
So that moves us to 10, our city clerk.
Well, end of the year, December, beginning of the year, January, always brings lots of paperwork for me with updates to and deadlines for elections and filings and insurance changes and et cetera. And speaking of elections, just a reminder that the Missouri Ethics Commission personal financial disclosure is due again. This side of the room as candidates has that covered, but dates I can send it. I'll be glad to send an email reminder if you want. I have a hard copy, a paper form you can complete. I'll send it to them, or you can do it online.
Yeah, send us an email with the online, that'd be good.
When to do what?
Several weeks. Candidates had a definite deadline, but we met that. The others have
You know, just send me a hard copy.
a few weeks.
Did David get signed up to run again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think when I came in, you all were discussing the February board meeting would be changed, right?
Yeah, so it's
And-
not changed, but, it's President's Day, so it won't be the 17th. The
Tuesday.
board meeting will be the 18th, Tuesday.
And I'm happy to report that we recently held, well, interviews for the street department equipment operator. Had 4 good interviews and, we selected the candidate and he started today. First day was bitter, cold, but, so yeah, Johnny Beasy is on staff now for the electric department. And I think he's happy to be here.
So we're staffed up. Very good. All right. Anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
What you do, I would entertain reading into closed session.
Move that we go into closed session during the meeting, Board of Aldermen may elect to go into closed session and hold a closed vote, and the purpose of a closed session and a closed vote shall be 9, preparation, including any discussions or work product on behalf of a public governmental body or its representatives, or negotiations with employee groups.
Have first and second to go into closed session, all in favor? All opposed?
Roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Orsini? Alderman Hudson?
Or,
Alderman Deckard? Alderman Magley?
yeah.
All right, we're in closed session. Shouldn't be too long on this topic. All right, we're returning to open session. There were no votes taken other than the, roll call vote to move back from closed session into, open session. So now we're back in open session and, I'm at as may arise. Do you have any as may arise?
Do we have anything out there on the books about people sleeping in their cars?
So, not that I'm aware of.
Would
I mean,
that fall under
So you can sleep in your cars on public properties?
a temporary?
Not on public property. Like, you mean like on city property?
Yeah.
No, that would be like a trespass. I mean, more than likely. I mean, most public property that I'm aware of, like parks and stuff like that, you have a time, you know, like from sun up to sundown or something. So,
Till 10 or 11 or whatever. it's supposed
yeah.
to.
So if they're asleep in
Cause
the,
there's one sleeping in the city parking lot by,
right.
It's up.
it's been there for 2 weeks.
Well, for one thing, you know, like vehicles have to move. Like we have like requirements, you know, that we every so many days vehicles got to move.
Yeah, but he just moved a parking spot. He's moved.
Well, also, but if he's sleeping overnight and he's using it as a residence, I mean, that's not going to meet the definition of a residence, and it doesn't meet the definition of a mobile home. That's kind of funny, but no, it doesn't.
Cause he got kicked out of Crosby Lake, so he moved to town.
Okay, so I would say that probably 2 things. Police should be notified and social
notified.
services. Social services, you know, should be notified as well because social services may be able to provide this individual with temporary housing or
So
something.
there's 2 of them and 2 pets, in one vehicle. they're there right now.
Yeah, then, okay, then Department of Health and Human Services, Senior Services need to be notified.
I believe that they are being, worked with.
Hopefully it corrects
Double
itself
check.
soon. Nobody wants to have two elderly folks and their pets freeze to death in this weather. That would be bad.
It'll be the same night as that.
You guys not have a temporary shelter, like when it gets really cold around here in the city, like one of the churches or anything? I'm just curious. Nothing like that?
Baptist churches said they would open as a warming center.
But that's probably, is that just during the daytime, not probably overnight?
It's a little vague on the hours that would be.
Yeah, we're not like Columbia and have
Right.
places where you go and have a bed and a cot. You know, I mean, I don't,
Are we the questions?
so. I entertain a
Adjourn?
motion to adjourn it. Second, first second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, we stand adjourned. Thank you folks for your time.